let's just say if you walk into a room and he's in a gorilla suit with a tutu on, it's not out of the norm.
That's like
He's
standard apparel. That's like my
standard apparel.
Telegram uniform.
Yeah, singing telegrams.
Performing at Ultra Fest on four-legged stilts and with these kind of foam saddles built into our costumes, carrying leggy go-go dancers.
I get the performer EDC email, for like call for performers in the acrobat category. There is a little asterisk, a little star. It says like must be able to do consecutive backflips. So they made a new rule for EDC acrobats because I was so bad. Hey, quick question before we get started. Would you like to win a free piece of clothing from Snowman Films and a 30-minute chat about your creative journey with me? I know that I would love to connect with you, and I know that I would have loved to talk with somebody who had experienced a similar path when I was getting started. So let's make it happen. Here's what you need to do. Subscribe to the Conversations with Creators podcast, rate and review, and share it in just 5 easy steps. First, write a review on your preferred podcasting platform and rate it. 5 stars for good karma. Then, screenshot your review and share it on social media, tagging Snowman Films. Each month, I'll select one random winner to receive a free piece of clothing from our store and a 30-minute virtual coaching call with me. Again, subscribe, write a review, rate the show, screenshot that review, share it on social media tagging Snowman Films, and get entered into a drawing for that one-on-one virtual session with me and some free swag. Thank you so much for taking the time to leave me a review. I really appreciate you, and I'm excited to see you in our one-on-one virtual call soon. Now, let's dive into today's episode. So the big question is this: how are creators like us, who aren't built for the 9-to-5, for the people who put their passion before them being comfortable, how do we turn that passion into a living that pays the bills and a life that we love? That is the question. This podcast will give you the answers. My name is Noah Mittman, and welcome to Conversations with Creators. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
I love the sweater.
Yeah, it's popular on the internet these days.
All the oranges. Yeah, no, this will be fun. I'm excited for this. I've never actually picked your brain specifically about all the crazy stuff you do.
And I did not even look at the question.
Oh, it's fine. It is fine. You were the first guest that actually requested them beforehand, so it's all good.
Did I?
Yeah. I'm not going to be like, hi, did you murder anyone? Hello and welcome back to Conversations with Creators. My guest today is, man, you gave me, you were my first video gig way back in the day. This man is a master of singing telegrams, still performer, writer, singer extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, Orange Peel Moses, George Peele.
Thank you. But you got to be real careful when you say still performer. So you pronounce
performer.
Yeah, because every time I tell someone I'm a still performer, they're like, still performer? What is that?
It's like a statue.
Yeah, living statue. For sure.
You were the opposite of a living statue.
I actually had my first living statue gig recently, but I was allowed to move around.
You really did.
I was in an astronaut suit, and it was pretty fun, actually.
Oh my God, you actually did. That's hilarious. You actually did a statue. I just don't. You're constantly moving from what I mean. That's just you as a person is a blur.
So I blurred my background.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You get background blur. So George, for our audience, Orange Peel Moses, this man, I actually, hold up. I'm going to go get it. I totally forgot to bring it. I will be back and I will cut this out until I come back. Ready? Okay, so I have a surprise for you. Check this. So for anybody listening,
Oh wow.
this is the set list and the load-in call because for the Bassnectar show that I worked with George, because I count this in December 31st, 2012 as my first like real professional video gig. And you hooked me up with that, so thank you.
That's sure. I count that as my first like short film project.
Yeah.
Legit short film project.
Yeah. But I was just this kid and I was making parkour videos and maybe I'd shot like a family's wedding or something for some money. And then George comes up and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to Nashville New Year's Eve to do Bassnectar?" I was like, "Oh, yes." Immediately. Yes. And that was a hell of a journey. What do you remember about that?
I remember a lot of things. I mean, we have it fairly well documented. I remember that
That's true.
Nate was the one that referred me to you.
No shit.
Nate the Average. Nate.
Oh, yeah, Nate the Average. I was like, I know a couple Nates.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nate the Average is my boy.
Yep. He was the one that referred me to you, told me you would kill it. And what else? You know, the lighting wasn't always perfect in that because we didn't have a lighting guy or anything like that.
Yeah. I have a much better low light camera now. That original camera was not good in low light at all. But we made do. I mean that's still some of my favorite concert footage. I mean it was just so basically what the gig was Bassnectar sold out the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and it was just I mean I think still the craziest energy of the initial drop in music that I've ever experienced. That energy was insane, and we talk about it. I mean, you talk about it in the video, like just mayhem.
Yeah, he's sold out a lot of venues, but that's one of the ones that we got to bring a crew of performers to on New Year's Eve. So
that was wild. And then I was realizing recently that this chick, Kelly Kay.
No.
She's like a big time like OnlyFans girl now. She's in like all of these big YouTubers video just like pulling her. I was like, I remember when she was just a performer. It was crazy. She was just she was one of the what do you call it?
this skater.
The skater girls, yeah.
Yeah, roller girl.
Yeah, but I've seen her on like so many podcasts. Like it's anyway, just wild and like way back in the day, just how different careers can go.
Well, and Canyons.
Yeah,
this thing going on too these days. You know, he's producing events and providing sound for events.
What's this thing called? Like Bass Bus or what is it?
I should know this.
I know it too.
If we should be more prepared.
Yeah, no, this is so far out of the questions that I have for you. I just wanted to recap on back in on New Year's Eve 2012. Because anyway, I will link in the show notes the Bassnectar video that basically, I mean, got my start in probably. I think it was like, I mean, it was my first paid gig. That was the coolest. I had an absolute blast, and I mean, we're still doing stuff. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise.
Now moving on to your main gig. So this man, let's just say if you walk into a room and he's in a gorilla suit with a tutu on, it's not out of the norm.
That's like
he's hilarious.
That's like my
telegram
uniform.
Yeah, singing telegrams. This guy. So you have basically the most popular singing telegram business in Denver, and I have to ask you, what are your favorite characters to do with the singing telegrams?
I mean, the clownfish costume that I have is my most unique costumes because it was custom designed. And of course, Nemo is the most famous clownfish now, but
You were the
the reason
first.
that costume made is because my cousin has an aquatic supplies business, and even before Finding Nemo came out, the clownfish was his logo for his aquatic supplies business. It's called
Yeah.
Aquatics.
At
And
Pixar, we want some royalties.
he had I think he had one of the first aquatic supplies businesses on the internet. Like I think he started in the mid to late 90s, something like that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the clownfish is a favorite. What else?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Oh my gosh, it's hard. It's like, people say, which when people ask a parent such as yourself, right? Which is your favorite kid,
Right, right, right.
It's
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go top 5.
Um, I mean, I think I enjoy doing drag for sure. That's been something I've been doing for a long time. And so, like, for example, the nurse dress is really comfortable, and I feel really comfortable and confident in that. Um,
I remember you surprising your dad for his birthday in drag.
yeah,
That was a fun time. I filmed that one.
yep. And there was a good reason for that because he used to, when I would have car trouble in the early days of my singing telegram career, when I would have car trouble, my dad would kind of like rescue me sometimes and chauffeur me to gigs. And one of the most memorable was downtown at Old Chicago's when it was Old Chicago's downtown in Denver.
Yeah.
I was I was supposed to be like a prostitute character or like an ex-girlfriend of the recipient. That's what I was supposed to be, as an ex-girlfriend of the recipient. And I went into the restaurant and pretended to be this person's ex-girlfriend. Of course, and the recipient's so confused because he has no idea who I am. But my dad was.
You have to imagine George without the beard, which the beard's a recent installment, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. We're beard brothers now.
Yeah.
How long ago, by the way, did you start the singing telegram gig?
So I started working for another singing telegram agency in 2004. And then I don't know exactly how long it took, but within, I want to say 6 months to a year, friends started asking me if I could do something for them.
Yeah.
So I started doing my own on the side and just kept doing it that way for years and got
Only 2005.
a lot of experience through this other business, but also started doing more of my own and getting better at that,
Yeah.
It was a gradual process, but after a few years, I launched my own, just very basic website, and then I upgraded it a few years later, and then
Yeah. And then you got me following you around all Valentine's Day dressed as Cupid in a diaper.
yep. Did that answer your question fully?
Yeah. I'm gonna go top 3: clownfish, drag, and Cupid.
Yes, Cupid, of course.
Yeah, of course. You gotta give some love to Cupid.
Yeah. I mean, that's
we still, by the way, have
iconic character for me because Valentine's Day is the biggest day of the year for singing telegrams.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who have the cojones to play Cupid in that in the version that I do, with very little clothing on.
just walking into corporate America with your chest bare and you got your bow and arrow that sticks to people's foreheads and beautiful songs to go with it.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of laughter and embarrassment. It's great.
It's the best. I have never not smiled. Wow.
I had one guy, once in a while I do these I'm sorry telegrams, not very often, but where I'm apologizing from a partner to a partner.
Oh my God.
And I showed up as Cupid one time in Stapleton on this guy's porch, and he opens the door and he's like, "Oh, hell no." He slams the door in my face.
Did you get in there or was that it?
Oh, that was it. That was the end of it.
He's like not dealing with this right
Yeah.
now.
I
I'm
mean,
too high for this.
like, I'm just, all I can do is speculate as to why he slammed the door. But it was either because he didn't appreciate a white guy in a diaper, or he knew it was from his partner who had wronged him and didn't care for her anymore or whatever.
The truth may never be known.
Yes, exactly.
So for you, what goes what goes into the process of preparing a singing telegram performance?
Yeah, so it begins with a consultation of sorts, and that happens via text sometimes, it happens via email sometimes, it happens on a phone call sometimes. But basically, the customer tells me what the occasion is, who the recipient is, where I'm going, and then I sometimes one of the first questions I ask them is, what kind of music does the recipient like? And sometimes that's irrelevant because they just want to embarrass this person, but it's a good starting point for a lot of them just because it helps give me an idea. Because if, yeah, sometimes we're just embarrassing people and irking them, but sometimes
What percentage is embarrassment versus like sweet and heartfelt?
it's so impossible to calculate that because sometimes it's a mixture of the two.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's really hard to, and I don't really.
I think a mixture is like the best. Like it's like I'm gonna embarrass you, but it's also sweet. That's great.
So I don't keep any hard stats on that stuff.
Yeah, fair.
But as I was saying, we kind of consult, and I ask about the recipient's favorite music, any artists that are relevant, any songs that are relevant, and then we start to pick songs and we start to pick costumes, and sometimes the recipient or sometimes the customer knows exactly what they want. Like they want me to be this one character from this one comedy sketch from 1975 or whatever, and that's exactly what they want. And then some customers have no idea what they want because they're first time customers. They have no idea what would be good, and because I've been doing it for almost 20 years, they just trust me to pick something that will work for the occasion.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if they don't give me any information, it's going to be fairly generic in my eyes because I'm just going to pick something that I think is popular. And like the Gorilla in the Tutu, which I know is popular, the Beatles' Birthday, which I know is popular, just things like that. But it's best if the customer can help me customize it to a certain degree by helping me pick songs, helping me pick costumes. And then when a customer really wants to go all out and they have the budget, then we do a personalized song. And that's when they give me all kinds of information about the recipient. And I rewrite the lyrics to a song, whether it's the recipient's favorite song or whether it's a song by their favorite artist or whether it's their favorite, or whether it's just a song that's relevant to the occasion somehow, or whether it's their least favorite song. One of those. Usually we pick, and then I rewrite the lyrics, just like Weird Al rewrites the lyrics of popular songs.
Yeah, you are the weird. I mean, that is the closest like parallel that I can draw 100% is but like that shows how good you are, right? Like Weird Al is memorable because it's like I remember I had a bit of a sheltered childhood, so like I know the Weird Al version of songs better than the actual version of a lot of songs because Weird Al is what I listen to. So
Yeah.
I mean, you putting the Weird Al spin on it is you're that good. Like again, we have your lyric sheet hung in our upstairs hallway because it's the best. It's the best. It was so cool. You reworked "Wanna Grow Old with You,"
Yeah.
and that was our. Actually, what's crazy is that was our first dance song at our wedding.
That's such a beautiful song.
Oh,
Literally, I've been singing that song for over 10 years. It's one of my all-time favorite songs in general, but also specifically for Valentine's Day, anniversary, long-term relationships. Love it so
You
much.
killed it. Again, it was so good that it's framed.
I mean, all I've ever hoped for was to hang on someone's refrigerator.
Exactly right. Career goals. Just a second, I'm gonna pause it. What's up, baby? All right, well, go poo. Go upstairs, go poo, and go back to bed, please. Thank you. The wife is out working out, so I got the kids are supposed to be in bed, which I'm always like, do you guys need to go potty? They're like, no. And then sure enough, 10 minutes after bedtime, I gotta go poo. Yeah, I know. You always do this.
I mean,
No, but that's awesome.
they're young. They're still learning how
Oh
to
yeah.
recognize signals from their bodies.
Listen, I'm happy it's in the potty and not in their bed.
Yeah.
So, actually, yeah, I think you kind of answered the next question I have, but is there anything else in the creative process from developing the song from its inception to the final product for you?
I mean, there's all kinds of different things can happen. Sometimes the customer wants to see a preview of the lyrics, especially if it's for something at a corporate office or something like that.
That makes sense. HR wants to take a look at it.
Yeah, sometimes they'll offer feedback. Sometimes I'll fact check things with the customer, if I just have a question about a fact, or if I'm, kind of poking fun at someone or teasing them and we're trying to decide like how far is too far.
Yeah, not to touch a nerve.
Okay, and then sometimes there's all these musical things that I'm doing. So sometimes if I'm learning a new song, I'll look it up on the internet, but then sometimes I transpose it to get it into my register. So I can sing it better. And
by the way, you are playing guitar and singing at the same time you have to have every single one of these songs in your arsenal. I mean, you got the lyrics on the page, but like you need to, the guitar knowledge on this is massive.
It's like, I don't have all the lyrics or chords memorized, but I have to remember how all of them go. Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes you're doing 5 in a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day, what's been your, first of all, I had one question before that.
Yeah.
Which was, for an embarrassment, have you ever been like swung on?
Not yet. but I have had some interesting reactions.
Yeah.
Like I said, the guy just slammed the door in my face.
That's a pretty good one.
There was another guy at View House that like raised a butter knife in my direction when I stepped to his table. He was probably joking. But
I'm gonna kind of annoy you with this.
Yeah, exactly. He was like pretending like he was gonna stab me with a butter knife, but it was still,
still not the greatest situation to walk into.
Another time, very early in my career, I was supposed to do an "I'm sorry" telegram from a teenager to another teenager, and I called the girl's house because I was having trouble finding the house, and the dad answered, and the dad was like, "Do not come over here." So if I would have gone there, I probably would have gotten swung at.
There may have been at least a fist, if not a gun there.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But there might be other situations that I'm not thinking about right now.
Yeah. That's great. So yeah, okay. So you're kind of, you make sure everything's fine. You make sure that no jokes go too deep. And then
the girl who started about to.
No, you're good. No, I was trying to find her place again.
So I was in the gorilla costume, and there was a girl. I've done this several times, different versions. This wasn't intentional, I don't think, but this recipient had a thing about furries. She was like afraid of furries.
Oh, afraid of, okay. So the opposite of what?
Okay. Yeah, so she was like running around, like trying to get away from me.
What were you dressed as?
A gorilla in a tutu.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's other situations where I was intentionally hired to, scare someone or annoy someone, and I was dressed as a cockroach or a bumblebee or
like one of their fears.
Yeah, and the bee was for a cop at the like a police academy or something like that, and he was afraid of bees.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a good roast of somebody, like in front of all your peers.
Yeah.
Random little fear comes up and sings to you. That's solid.
Cockroach was hilarious. That was one of my favorites. It's one of those ones that I wish. I should ask. It's one a regular customer, a longtime customer. I should ask if he has any video of that. But
Yeah.
it was for one of his coworkers that was afraid of cockroaches, and I rented this burlesque cockroach costume from a burlesque performer, which I do have photos of somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed up at their workplace at a staff meeting or something, and I,
Wow.
I sang "Fancy" by that Australian rapper who I'm gonna forget her name right now.
I'm just trying to picture what goes into a burlesque cockroach costume. Like what are there pasties?
I don't know how fast I can find that.
No, it's fine. Oh well, send it to me later.
I think they're like brown hot pants, like maybe a brown like tube top or something, and then a big like cockroach shell. I think that's what I remember.
You have the most legendary closet of any. I can't even. Nothing comes close of anything I can think of.
Uh, I mean, I know lots of performers that probably have similar closets, but yeah.
Here's one for the books for sure. What comes to mind for you for like the most unusual requests you've gotten for singing telegrams?
Mm, there's so many, and I just
Bet.
blogged about this recently. Well, I blogged about pranks recently, and so I mentioned some of the most unusual requests. Like one time, a customer asked me to. They were having a gathering of their neighbors in their kitchen on a weekday, I think, and they wanted to just like punk their neighbors or whatever, prank their neighbors. And so they had me dress up as a clown, walk in through the back door, walk into the kitchen, get something out of the fridge. I think I got a vegetable out of the fridge. And then without acknowledging anyone, just like I was their roommate or something, and just leave. That was all.
Hate to not say you literally were in there for 10 seconds and just left. And
Yeah.
that's a good paycheck
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. And the best part about that was
Yeah.
the best part about that was one of the guys that was there. He says, "Is anyone else seeing this?"
And then you just created the best the story that they're all going to tell for the next 5 years of the weirdest thing that's ever happened to them.
Yeah, possibly their entire lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I blogged about several others. There was one of the most recent strangest ones I blogged about extensively on my website, orangepeelmoses.com, and that was a dentist's girlfriend or partner hired me to prank her boyfriend, the dentist, and she put a lot of thought into this. She researched all these weird phobias, and she wanted my character, this fake patient character, to have all these strange phobias that he would have to deal with, or
You just walked in like normal clothing, but you just had a bunch of weird.
oh no, I did not walk at all. Sometimes when I'm a fake patient, I do walk in street clothes.
Yeah.
In this case, I had photophobia. My character had photophobia, and my character had dentophobia.
Yeah.
And my character had palatophobia. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not positive. But the photophobia.
What is that? What is the third one here?
So the third one is that wow, okay. So the first one, photophobia, is that I am allergic or I have a reaction to sunlight, bright lights, fluorescent lights.
Yeah, sure.
Dentophobia is that I'm afraid of dentists.
Dentist, yeah.
Palatophobia is that I'm afraid of bald people.
And he was bald.
Oh, and he's a dentist. So,
hold up. Did you have a hat on or no?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you what I was wearing.
Yeah.
And there's the picture on the top too.
Yeah, paint the picture. Paint the picture.
So, she, like I said, she debated several other phobias before this. So finally, she she decided on these particular phobias maybe a day or two before. And so that was when I was like, okay, well, what's my costume going to be? And so because I'm allergic to the sunlight and fluorescent lights, I decided I needed to be covered head to toe in some way. And so one of my first thoughts was like a hijab, like, but then I was like, oh, a ski mask. So and had a ski mask.
Oh no.
So I wore a ski mask with ski goggles and then a coolie, which is the conical Asian hat on my head. And then I wore all black from head to toe. I had orange mittens on, orange gloves on. So I was in an orange ski mask, burgundy ski goggles, this, brown coolie conical sun hat thing, and then all black with orange gloves on.
So I mean, at least with the break in color away from black, they didn't think you were trying to rob the place.
You're still pretty freaked out.
Yeah, I bet.
So then I also brought a bag full of costumes and wigs. I gave them to everyone at his office was in on this prank, by the way.
That's amazing.
I gave them to the receptionist, and the receptionist was supposed to give them to him, the dentist, and ask him to put them on so he would,
So you wouldn't be afraid.
yeah, so I wouldn't be afraid.
Yeah.
So my fears would be addressed. And
This is a well put together plan. Holy shit.
yeah. I don't know if the receptionist actually asked him to do that, but leading into my character, they brought me into a consultation room, and I just tipped my hat like over my eyes. So even though I had goggles on, I tipped the hat over the goggles. So even when he came in, even if he wasn't wearing a wig or a costume, there was no way that we would have any eye contact whatsoever,
Yeah.
So he came in and he sat down, and you can read all about this on the blog, but he came in and he sat down and he said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, I don't know how much your staff told me about you or told you about me, but I have a debilitating fear of dentists." And and I asked him, "Oh, so it's really important that you not act like a dentist." That was one of the first things. And then I asked him if he'd gotten the teeth that I mailed to him, because I forgot to set that part up in the story, but someone had mailed him some fake teeth, and they were, the return address or whatever on the envelope was M. Gilbert. So my character's name was Mike Gilbert because I was allegedly the person that had mailed him the fake teeth.
Okay.
So, but as a backup plan, I had this plaster mold of teeth sitting on the table that I had brought with me, just as a prop, just in case he hadn't gotten the teeth or whatever, or we wanted to talk about my teeth. And I thought he had gotten the teeth, but he said he hadn't gotten the teeth. So fortunately, I had my little plaster teeth right on the table right next to me. And then I don't think of what happened next. I wish I'd recorded this whole conversation, but I think, oh yes. So I asked him if there was any way that he could sing to me while he was examining my teeth to make me more comfortable about being in a dentist's office. And he said that he couldn't, but he could refer me to a dentist that sang. And then I said, well, maybe I can sing to myself and just soothe my own nerves. And at that point, he exited the consultation room for a minute, and I could hear him. The consultation room was right near the reception area, so I could hear him whispering with his staff. I couldn't hear everything he was saying, but I could tell he was freaked out, and he wanted to send me somewhere else. And so eventually one of his staff members comes in the consultation room, and she says, to pretend like I'm talking to you right now. He doesn't want to treat you. He wants to send you somewhere else. But we're going to tell him that you insist on being treated here. So they go and maybe tell him this. And then the staffer comes back in a few minutes later, and she says, he's still freaked out. We don't know if he's going to treat you. So if he comes by the door, if he comes back in the room, just get up and just start singing to him. And so he came back eventually, and he comes into the doorway, and I got up and I took the plaster teeth that I had, and I started singing a Weird Al derivative called Cavity Search that's based on a U2 song. And I started puppeteering the plaster teeth as I was singing the song.
Meanwhile, he still thinks you're a patient.
Yeah. Yeah. We have video of this part, but you can only see him because I'm inside the room and he's right out.
God.
So you can see him just dumbfounded and speechless as I'm singing this song, and you can hear me singing this song. And then right after I finished maybe the second verse, I just started laughing, and I said, happy April Fools. And he started laughing too, and he thought it was the funniest thing.
I was going to say, he's probably the most relieved he's been in a while that you're not like an actual, like, oh, great, he's going to show up at my house tomorrow.
Yeah, people that have seen that picture say, you look like the Unabomber or something.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's of the funny costumes, that's definitely the sketchiest. Wow. I asked for an unusual request and you delivered. That is that's
I mean, there's plenty of others, but that was one of them for sure. That was one of the best.
That is that there's so many layers to that. That's incredible. So I always like to, this is kind of about creators and their journey, but also kind of on the financial side to kind of demystify stuff for people that are up and coming. Do you make most of your money through telegrams, or what else is lucrative for you?
I do. It's I travel a lot these days, so I can't possibly book all the gigs that I'm offered, but I've been making most of my money from telegrams for a long time now.
Yeah.
I think about so I launched my latest version of my website in 2015, and because that got a lot more attention from Google and search engines and stuff, and maybe online reviews went up. By 2017, that was the first year, or one of the first years that I was actually doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's about 6 or 7 years ago, right?
Because that website is the top singing telegram website for Denver, or just Colorado in general?
For organic search results, I think it still is, but it depends on the search engine.
Yeah.
Well,
super powerful.
And then there's, of course, people who advertise, and so they get placed above me because I don't advertise with Google yet. I've advertised on Yelp, but not Google.
But as a, you can kind of tell, when it's sponsored versus okay, these are the ones that paid, and then this is the actual first one, like that. People are smart.
I mean, one of the biggest tests as far as the viability and the endurability of my offering, right, was when COVID hit. Before COVID, we were averaging 420 a year for a couple of years, about that. And then when COVID hit, it went down a little bit, but we did 390 in 2020.
Still multiple a day.
And that's, yeah. Still at least 1 to 2 a day.
Yeah.
And, we had to make all kinds of adjustments.
That's insane.
Had to deliver outside in the snow sometimes. And we had to do online things. But to still come up almost at 400 gigs in a year is pretty.
There you go. Singing telegrams is COVID proof.
Yeah. And there was even
listen, I get it. What a better time to spread the happiness and hope and just, taking your mind off how shit the world is for 5 minutes.
Well, and that's the thing. Lots of people are surprised when they hear that statistic, but if you think about it, there were all kinds of quarantine birthdays, people traveling, and people still wanted to let their loved ones know that they cared about them.
Even more important to celebrate the good stuff when everything else is so bad.
And that first month or two, if most people don't even necessarily think about this, but most concert venues were shut down. And so there wasn't unless you were a band that was doing front yard concerts like I was kind of doing, um, I was one of the best resources in town for live socially distanced music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Look, so that's interesting, actually. What were those requests, like multiple songs, or was that still just the standard kind of?
Yeah, I mean, it's always we we always offer 3 to 4 songs.
Okay.
That's pretty much standard.
Just yeah, it's just a higher budget level.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much standard. Some customers only want 1 song.
Mm.
Customers, and especially if it's a personalized song and it's a long personalized song, you only need that song.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll do a happy birthday or something else, but
Oh, cool. So you kind of offer like mini concerts as well.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, for some of those front yard concerts that we did during COVID, we would definitely do a set for sure, a
Yeah.
short set. Hmm.
That's epic. That's, I mean, what a service you did during that time. And still, I mean, but that's like, that's so cool. And it only dropped by like I mean, again, still 1 to 2 a day
Yeah,
during when the world was shut down. Like that's,
yeah,
congrats. That's huge.
yeah. It was
You were doing just fine.
it was not it was not easy, but it was really, really interesting and really emotional,
Yeah.
and really it was really it was such a gift to be able to provide that service during.
Not too many pranks during that time, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah, probably not as many.
Hit it.
I don't know. And I did blog about COVID singing telegrams, but and there's a few details in there, but part of me wishes I had blogged and, written more about
Yeah.
that time. Really.
By the way, go check out the blog. Where I'll link it in the show notes as well. But this man is a hell of a writer.
It's just orangepeelmoses.com/blog.
There you go. Go check it out. Give him some love. Hey there, fellow creatives. Conversations with Creators dives deep into the minds of successful filmmakers, artists, musicians, and all around awesome people. We are looking for some kick-ass sponsors to help us keep this show on the road. If you want to reach a tribe of dedicated listeners who are just as passionate about creating as you are, then look no further. Our audience is full of people who appreciate a good laugh and are always on the lookout for new ways to fuel their creativity. So, let's team up and create some magic together. We'll work with you to make sure that your brand is showcased in the best light possible. And who knows, maybe we'll even become lifelong friends. Just imagine, years from now, we'll be reminiscing about the good old days when we first teamed up to take the world by storm. Send us an email at noah@snowmanfilms.net to say hey and get the ball rolling. Now back to the episode. So switching subjects a little bit, that is, I love that story. That's incredible that it didn't really slow down and you were able to, I mean, you were kind of a frontline worker in your own way. That's epic. With it, socially distanced, but you did a real service there.
The only one, I was one of the most prominent performers doing this in Denver, but some people know this, Broadway performers were doing this in New York and stuff like that too,
Hmm.
So a lot of them, because they weren't working on Broadway or they weren't working in theater, they were doing singing telegrams,
Makes sense. It's you have a skill, you can use it however you can.
Yeah.
Like I make money with a camera any way that I can. It's what if they say, do you do this? I say yes. How did you get started in Stilt Performance?
Yeah, thank you.
And what drew you to that originally?
What drew me to it?
Yeah.
Hello. So the way I got started, I literally do not remember ever thinking about stilts or whether I was interested in walking on stilts or performing on stilts before this. But the way it happened that I got started is that I was dancing at a random club in Denver, and a girl who was about to, set up a new dance team at a new nightclub saw me dancing there, and we connected, and she invited me to audition or dance at this new club. And it was It was right downtown, and most of so all the girls were like go-go dancers, and most of the boys were kind of like b-boys,
Hmm.
and I was something in between.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, if you were to describe your dance style, because I can't. It's just you. It's just you. What would you? Is there a description for it, or is it just you? Because you will dance to anything,
Yeah,
anywhere, at any time.
and I do have some at this point. Everyone, I think most dancers realize this, and even people who don't consider themselves dancers realize this. But I do have certain kind of stylistic things that I gravitate towards. I have that you could recognize me if you saw a silhouette. If you knew my dancing style and then you saw a silhouette of me dancing, you could
I could
recognize.
definitely do that.
But the point is that I was kind of the odd duck in this dance team at this new nightclub that was opening.
Yeah.
But the most significant thing that happened there was that I got my start on stilts on Halloween.
And we're talking, by the way, for anybody wondering, we're talking kind of bouncy stilts, not like,
Well,
oh,
so I didn't,
is the beginning different? I'm sorry.
yeah,
Do
I didn't
tell.
start on this, yeah. I perform multiple different kinds of stilts,
Fair enough.
but
Put them on anything. Put them on anything above the ground.
Yeah.
You got it.
on Halloween of that year, and this was about 6 months before I started singing telegrams for contact. On Halloween of that year, the girl who had invited me to be part of this team, she basically said, "Hey, George, do you want to get on the stilts tonight?" And the owner of the club had drywall stilts, and I had never been on stilts in my life. Like I said, I don't know if I'd ever even thought about it. And I just said yes, because that's
what you do.
Yeah, opportunities, and I'll try almost anything once, and that has served me very well in my life.
It has.
And
That by the way, it is the most healthy mentality as a creative you can possibly have, is say yes and then figure it out. Within reason,
yeah,
but generally a say yes mentality.
yeah. And I remember one of my first website designers, and this was before all of this. One of my first website designers, I remember him telling me a story about how he went into Earthlink at the time, and he's in there for an interview, and at the end of the interview, or part of the interview, they ask him, "So you can design websites, right?" And he designed a website in his life, and he's like, "Yep, yeah, I can do that."
I won't be sleeping tonight, but yeah, I can do that. I need to learn.
With the stilts, the drywall stilts at the club, I said yes. I had never been on stilts before. I strapped him on, and then I put a costume on or a cape on or something, and I walked around the edges of the nightclub, like close to the walls. I probably didn't go in the middle of the crowd. I was just careful that first night, but I just kept doing it. Not all the time in the beginning, but requests would come up, and there wasn't a lot of people that did it at that time, and so I would get
that. Like I like though that, like, that's one of the more healthy say yes situations where it's like, hey, do you want to try this out? Like, it's not like, oh, you're pro. Like, you say, oh yeah, I can do a front flip, and you have no idea. It's, hey, do you want to try this out? And also, I I love that your first time in stilts was in a club, meaning dark, shining lights everywhere. Like, you can't see much, but like,
Yeah.
figure out this new, you're 4 feet, 5 feet off the ground. Like, why not?
Yes, but because I'd been dancing for a decent amount of time, I had
Body awareness.
decent body awareness.
Yeah.
And drywall stilts are arguably the training wheels of the stilt family.
There you go.
Drywallers and painters and contractors use them. They figure it out all the time, So
Fair enough. Yeah. You got the training wheels. That's good.
it was a little crazy, but
Yeah, I bet.
it was,
But no, yeah. So in the situation, it was the safest it could be. And again, you're an athlete. You've been. I think you danced out of the womb.
I shoot. How old was I? I'd have to look this up, but I definitely started going to 4-H dances when I was about 8 or 9,
Nice.
I believe. And probably somewhere around that same time, maybe a little bit after, I saw Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on television. And that was the first time outside of 4-H dances when it was like girls were asking me to dance or whatever. That was the first time I remember practicing dancing solo, like attempting to practice dancing solo. And so he was definitely, as he was on many, many people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he shocked a generation into trying stuff out.
Yeah.
And you were part of that generation. That's awesome. Oh my God.
And I think I'm not the greatest moonwalker unless I'm in scuba flippers. But I do still have some of those Michael Jackson moves.
Oh my God, that got me. Oh my God. I'm not a great moonwalker unless I'm in swimming flippers, which is the hardest thing you can possibly have to walk in.
No, you know what's really hard is scuba flippers.
Oh yeah, I bet. I think I would have to get paid multiple hundreds of dollars to even try that.
Well, the thing
a 6-step in flippers?
Yeah.
That sounds like a torn ACL to me.
It's pretty awkward.
I don't even know. One of my previous guests was Lauren Ball. I don't even know if he could do that. It's an actual b-boy.
I feel like they feel a challenge coming on.
Yeah, right. I love that. We may have to do that. We may have to do a Conversations with Creators challenge. Get you and Lauren together and see who can b-boy better. Yeah.
So I think it sounds, I don't know, I could be wrong because of a unique experience and skill set, but I feel like moonwalking and scuba flippers sounds harder than it is, because the thing about it is that you can stay connected to the ground longer as you're transitioning between steps, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm the guy that b-boys at weddings, and that sounds pretty fucking hard to me. I think you've unlocked a new genre or style of b-boy or any dance is different in flipper.
You want to hear where I figured out that it's moonwalking? Because it was at EDC Vegas, and I was literally,
of course it was.
Walking through the crowd, and so I was just looking over my shoulder to make sure I didn't run into people.
How many years? Because I did. Oh my God, I haven't told you did I tell you my hilarious EDC Vegas story? I think you got. They changed the rules. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell it just for the audience.
Yeah.
I think you got me that gig, right?
Yes.
You recommended me. So they had it. What year was it? 14, 13?
Possible.
Yeah, and somewhere in that range. I'm so bad with dates. Thank you, ADHD. So George gets me a acrobat gig at EDC Vegas, which I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I can do flips, and little did I know this was a trampoline gig, and the trampoline is a strip of trampoline about 10 feet off the ground in front of the stage, in front of one of the stages, in complete darkness and in morph suits with reflectors on. So you can't really, visibility is about 20%. And I show up, I can do flips, but I'm not like a trampoline master. I can do, the occasional, I can't do like 2 front flips in a row. And I show up and these acrobats around me, I can flip, so like we were having fun, but like these guys are doing like double backflips, like full tumble lines, and like they're professionals. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll try to keep up. We do our first show. Very quickly, I realize I'm gonna like die if I actually try and really go hard, because it's dark. We are there is strobes and lasers going everywhere, and my face is covered by a morph suit. So after we do our first performance and we go back to the dressing room and the guys are like, hey, so obviously like, you're not quite on the acrobatic level. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. So like, how about you be the spotter for the pad at the end? I'm like, that sounds fucking great. So that was the rest. So, we were good. I didn't get hurt. Next year, I get the performer EDC email, for like call for performers. And I go like, let's check it out. In the acrobat category, there is a little asterisk, a little star. It says like must be able to do consecutive backflips. So they made a new rule for EDC acrobats because I was so bad. But listen, I still got paid. I had a blast. Thank you for that. And that was that was hilarious and so much fun. The final headliner at the main stage, we all did this like spider web thing out. There's like 120,000 people there. I cried. It was incredible. What EDC Vegas is it's a spiritual experience. It is on par with Burning Man in my opinion. But yeah, they changed the rules because of me, and it's just a funny like. I was never gonna. I immediately knew I was out of my depth. I was never gonna apply again. But like, it's hilarious that there was a new rule because of me. Oh my god, I'm always gonna kick out of that.
I mean, they throw
It's a
fairly novice
party.
to that, into the
They what?
they throw fairly novice still walkers into that
Okay, so it's not just me.
realm as well.
Like,
They still
yeah, but like, still, I mean, as long as you can walk on stilts, like these guys were doing like double back pikes in darkness, hoping that they like, but it wasn't hoping because they knew where they were. They were actual tumblers. I'm a parkour athlete. Like
and I understand, but I still don't think it's great that they put like
fair enough.
performers
Fair
in the middle of a crazy like
It is insane.
yeah.
It is a.
All going different directions all the time. Like,
If you ever have a chance to check out EDC Vegas, just do it. Don't like hurt your bank account because it will, but it was man, that was a wild, and it goes all night. Like hitting. Oh my god, I think that's the most tired I've been on a performance gig back in the day when I did the parkour stuff. That was wild, but and I got to see you, and it was on. I met Pauline, who's a homie, and that was great. That was super fun. So, all right, so that's how you got your start. That's an awesome story.
well, that's how I got my start. But then, the next year or two, I worked at Elitch Gardens, which was owned by Six Flags at the time.
Yeah,
and Nate,
this is gonna be an historic thing because eventually it's gonna be gone, which is insane. Anyway, Elitch Garden, yeah, they're fucking a park or something. They're tearing.
They're gonna move it. I heard they were gonna move it.
I hope.
Case.
That'd be great. I don't know. I just saw a headline and I was like, how dare you? Anyway,
I heard they were
before we deal with, yeah, they you don't have I mean, Denver Elitch's is a Denver staple. I have my best man told a story about Elitch's at my wedding. Like, anyway, so you were performing at Elitch's.
Yeah. So that was how we really got a lot of experience because we worked 2 or 2.5 months straight, like almost every night.
Yeah,
that's how we really.
Yeah. You just learn by doing.
Yeah,
which is how you do it. That's the best. I'm learning by doing this. You're episode 11. Yeah, my goal is basically to close my eyes until I get to episode 100 with this, and then again close my eyes until I get to episode 200. I'm in on it.
You're just sleepwalking through your.
No, not. I should. That's a terrible analogy. But basically, I'm like, not. I'm just having fun with it and seeing where it goes, and eventually it'll be what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, I as you can see, I had nothing prepared for this. I'm a complete amateur.
That's one of the things that I like about singing telegrams because I've struggled with perfectionism.
Oh yeah.
Over the years, and one of the things I love about singing telegrams is that Nobody cares if it's perfect. Like some clients are really anal, and they'll want to hear a demo before, and sometimes it's I'm at the governor's mansion, and I want it to be really tight and personal, or I have it memorized for a TV appearance or something like that. But most of the time, people just want it to be fun. People just want to facilitate a sing along. They want it to be fun. They want to embarrass someone. That they don't need it to be perfect. And when I forget a lyric or I lose my place for a second, as long as I keep going, everyone laughs, no one cares.
Yeah. Listen, I I know firsthand how it doesn't have to be perfect. I've been hired, paid money as a breakdancer, which always cracks me up because I'm like, listen, I'm a novice breakdancer, but the fact that I'm even doing a 6-step, anybody who's drunk in the crowd for a rave is gonna be like, "Oh my god, they're dead!" And then wearing the shiny suit and stuff, they're gonna be happy. So it's all good. But no, I mean, I think that goes along with the say yes thing. Is like, because perfection doesn't. That was a big thing for me, is realizing that perfection doesn't exist.
Oh yeah.
It's, and when you're there for the journey and excited about the journey and okay with being a beginner, there's people in your corner and there's people rooting for you, and so few people chase their passions in life that you going after something and it being raw and bumpy that's a life experience, and that's something that a lot of people don't get.
So that's pretty much always the way it's going to be if you're doing anything.
Yeah.
If you're going into uncharted territory, it's always going to be bumpy. And anytime you're learning a craft, there's always going to be a learning curve,
Absolutely.
Or most people aren't going to be Mozart or Beethoven when they're 9 or whatever, so.
You lucky bastards. So, what are some of the most memorable still performances you've done, and what made them stand out to you? I just can't believe. Just froze for a second. It was great. I can't believe you actually did a statue gig recently. That cracks me up so much.
I mean, I was allowed to
still
here, but that was really fun. It was at a cannabis event, and I was in a space.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Space suit, and I mean,
how many people just stood watching you for like a half hour?
I didn't stay still for a half hour. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
The guy who I did it for, he's like, I was so intimidated to do living statue gigs for so long, but he's like, you don't have to stay still. Like, you can move. Like, it's okay. Just stay still once in a while, and then move once in a while.
That's great. But yeah, so what was a memorable stilt performance?
Wow,
you've done a lot.
Yeah,
you've done Ultra. You've done.
Yeah,
I mean, you've done. Yeah.
One of the craziest still performances I've ever done, and there's been a lot. But performing at Ultra when Nate and I were doing
Ultra Miami, the massive EDM
Ultra Festival, is one of the biggest EDM festivals in the world. Performing at Ultra Fest on 4-legged stilts and with these kind of foam saddles built into our costumes, carrying leggy go-go dancers.
And you were like, it was like a unicorn costume, right?
They were kind of like robot insect costumes. I think they looked like kind of like robot ants or android ants. And we're carrying 120-pound go-go dancers at least on our backs, and we're inside the barricades. And so most people don't necessarily understand what that means, but inside the barricades there's usually a space for camera crew, press, VIP, performer. And so we're inside.
So for a big music festival, setting the stage here, you have the stage, you have the crowd, and then you have kind of a T where the top of the T is the stage, and then you have a middle section with fences on either side. So the fences give a little bit of a section to the middle of it, and then the very front. And so you were in the middle section, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And so we were in that T, in the middle of the crowd with go-go dancers on our backs on four-legged stilts. And there's these things called cable covers, which are covering a lot of the cables, and they're yellow, and they have kind of like a little bit of tread on them. But in between that tread, they are smooth as snot.
Oh, no.
And then what happens is they get wet from, either people spilling drinks or water effects on the stage or whatever it is.
Or weather.
And then they're also shooting confetti out of confetti cannons. And so they're covered in wet confetti, and and so we're carrying girls on our backs. We're on four-legged stilts, and we're having to maintain ourselves on slippery, wet confetti covered.
And you're how high in the air?
Well, we're relatively low. We're on low stilts because I'm wearing the jumping stilts on my back legs, and I'm wearing crutches on my front legs.
So like
we're not super high.
Feet off the ground-ish?
To my chest?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, to your chest, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe, yeah.
Well, so you're super low.
Yeah, we're relatively low to the ground.
Okay.
Still, it's just so,
yeah.
Because,
you're on a crutch.
We're carrying people, and we're on a slippery surface, and and people like it's so noisy. The volume is so loud, and and we can barely see because we have like little like mesh coverings over our eyes as part of the costume too. So
let's put a hood, a mesh hood over the support system for people. Well, I get it, but also like, come on, just like black eye makeup. Come on.
Yeah, I mean that's you talked about doing some of that, trying to do acrobatics in low visibility.
Oh my God, it was so hard.
But
I was barely comfortable doing it back. It was that was wild.
I've done all kinds.
No, see, but you made it through because you're a professional.
Yeah. That was one of the highest level gigs I've done for sure.
I remember that you made it into the Ultra after movie as I think it was the unicorn one in all white, and then you had the girls on top of you that were like dressed in basically just black tape, and there were fireworks going off, and it was a wide shot, and I was like, oh my God, it's George. And it's in your reel that I edited for you.
Yeah. So I don't even know where to start with other gigs. I mean, we got to perform in Japan a couple times. That was really incredible. Japanese festival audiences are much more polite in general. There's a few exceptions. There's definitely some that get drunk and get a little obnoxious, but way less so than American and or Mexican audiences.
So that's super interesting though, because just on the travel part, like singing telegrams pays the bills, but stilting has taken you around the world.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I that's kind of yeah, exactly. That's so cool.
Even when the gig doesn't cover all your expenses, it's still worth it.
So it's a checklist for life. It's your bucket list. I mean, that's that is actually, that's interesting. What is how does the experience of like a good telegram compare to performing at Ultra? Obviously different.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the best telegrams, I guess there's two kinds of great telegrams. One of them is a prank or something that's really funny.
Yeah.
And the other one is something that's just really emotionally impactful. And so usually in those cases, I rarely, sometimes my eyes will water a little bit towards the end, but usually I don't get super emotional until right after I'm walking out or as I'm walking. Somehow I'm able to hold it together for the performance.
I'm kind of committed to the character.
Yeah, but then something, I'm empathetic enough that I get the feels as I'm leaving, like
Yeah,
right at the end of it or something.
makes sense.
And that's like just the other night I did a vow renewal up in Estes Park. And even though the guy was super nervous and it wasn't as
Nervous for you or nervous for the vow renewal?
it wasn't no, he was nervous about like just renewing.
Yeah. I get you.
They've had tough times here and there.
Yeah, of course.
And even though the whole there was a lot of things he got right, like he got this room at this beautiful resort in Estes Park, and he had it scheduled like during sunset, and there was a little gazebo outside, and he had rose petals, leading
All
up.
the boxes were checked.
He had a lot of boxes checked. There were a few things he could have done better, but even despite those like minor, imperfections, watching him read his, very heartfelt little note that he'd written about how he wanted to recommit to his partner, that got me super emotional for sure. And those are some of the best ones, are the ones that are really, really meaningful, emotionally impactful and meaningful. And those, I rarely have a still performance experience that's that emotionally impactful.
Yeah.
I have really great experiences on stilts and really magical experiences, especially performing on the beach in Costa Rica. Really, really magical interactions with festival patrons, but
It feels like
they're never like I'm crying.
Yeah.
Because that was such a touching moment,
It feels like singing telegrams fills your cup emotionally, while the still gigs is such a great adrenaline rush and like just a cool, like, you get to experience something bigger.
I mean, there's meaning, and there's definitely a magic in, like I said, some of those still performances, but it's just, yeah, I'm rarely ever like actually crying.
Yeah.
Like I am at some of these singing telegrams. I don't talk about this very often, but once in a while I do basically end of life celebrations. And during COVID in 2020, I did one for a young man he was 20 years old, and he wasn't expected to live to see his 21st birthday. So they were having an early 21st birthday for him.
Oh.
And it was outdoors, so it was COVID safe-ish, and they had basically like 75 to 100 people in a circle, so they could kind of be socially distanced. And I came in my nurse dress and just did a birthday rap, maybe did one or two other songs, and that was definitely one of the most. I've done a few other.
How did you hold it? Did you hold it together for her?
I mean, I think my eyes were probably watering towards the end. Like when I was, I think I don't remember if I shook his hand necessarily, but I maybe like, talked to him briefly afterwards and maybe took a picture with him or something. And then I left and I just bawled. I was bawling, So
Drive a block away so nobody sees you and just start crying.
I mean,
that's, I mean,
usually the way it happens is like,
wow.
right as I walk out of there, I start, all the emotions come.
Well, and I'm sure if anybody's walking you out, there's a big hug waiting for you. Like, of course, I mean, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it really is for sure.
That's such an honor. That's you have a cool job. You have a cool, you do lots of cool things that affect people in so much positivity. And something I love about you is you just, your ripple effect of your attitude and your positivity is absolutely, it spans the world,
Mm.
and you know that.
Yeah, yeah. I came up with my own term for the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And it's the same basic concept, but I think that at the time I didn't realize there was always already an expression that covered that, but I decided to term it collateral sunshine instead of the military terminology they use,
Yeah.
the
Damage.
fire or whatever.
Yeah.
So collateral sunshine. It's so I noticed that there was always this effect when I was in the elevator going up to an office gig, or I was in the grocery store because I hadn't taken my costume off, or I was going to the grocery store before the gig and I was in costume already. And people would just often comment about how I made their day, even though I was just walking around in costume.
I mean, that's the most accurate description of it. You need to make shirts out of that. That's fantastic. I mean, again, when I say like, no matter how stressed, what kind of day I'm having, when I show up to film, you doing what you do, I always leave with a smile. It's you infect sunshine everywhere you go.
And I've talked about this before too, but
Spread sunshine. Infect is a weird word.
sometimes I, in the past, not so much anymore because I'm very aware of this phenomenon now, but in the past, sometimes I would wake up, I hadn't slept enough or I didn't feel well, but I would still go to the gig, and it would transform my mood and my state of being as well.
I mean, I think it's because at the very basic level, you're in service. You're helping, you are, yes, it is, you're being paid for it, but like,
Yeah.
it is a service to people. It is making somebody's day. You're affecting a mood no matter what it is. And when you're a performer, when you're an artist, when you are successful at the mood that you want to affect, that feels great. And no matter if it's crying or laughing or embarrassment, like whatever it is, your mission was successful with it. And yeah, I mean, I think it's cool because you have a job that can cure depression even if you're depressed. That's so cool.
Definitely brings a lot of light into people's lives. And it also this is something I also I kind of knew intuitively that singing was good for me, but didn't know anything about the science until the last few years. And this is something that I love to talk about as well these days as well, because singing is good for your nervous system. It helps regulate your nervous system. So that's one of the reasons why people like to sing. And the unfortunate fact is that most people aren't encouraged to sing on a regular basis unless they go to a church, but not everyone has that.
Yeah. Or like a random karaoke bar.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. True.
But it's not, it's a special occasion. It's not every day.
Special occasion, but singing is really good for you and it helps regulate your nervous system. And most people, because they're not encouraged to sing, they don't sing all the time. Some of them sing in their shower and some of them sing in their car, but some of them are scared to death of singing in front of other people or in public. And so that's what the benefit of a group sing along is. And so the more I do songs that people know, and that's why I try to be really intentional and exhaustive in the way that I pick songs for these occasions, is because I try to pick at least one or two songs that people are going to know so they can sing along, because people, even if they're afraid by themselves, like if there's other people singing, then they feel they're safe. It's safe. It's a safe space to sing along, and there's
science behind Collateral Sunshine.
Yeah. Just like group sing-alongs,
No, it's great. It makes total sense. Like the song choices can affect not just who you're doing it to, but the whole room.
Yeah.
Which makes it a party.
And that's, I mean, I have experienced and been a part of some really incredible sing-alongs over the years, and that's magic every time. When it's real good, it's real magic.
Yeah. Real magic. There you go. Collateral Sunshine, real magic. So just to wrap up, this has been absolutely amazing. And oh my God. So I knew that there were crazy stories and they came through. But yeah, let's I want to roll out the red carpet for you. What do you got going on in your life?
So, wow. What we are trying to do right now, and it's going to be a journey, but
I'm excited.
we want to make a pilot, a unscripted streaming TV pilot about singing telegrams. And we have a theme song that is amazing. It's literally the catchiest song I've ever been involved in writing and recording. It's so exciting to have that piece of it.
Yeah.
And now we have a longtime commercial photographer and videographer who wants to make feature films. That's really what he wants to do primarily. But in the meantime, he's willing to help people like me make things like this.
Yeah.
So the plan is to start shooting something next Friday, and that's really just for the pilot. Originally, we had kind of thought about making a mini series, and that's still totally possible, especially with some funding. But I kind of want to start with a more accessible goal, and so we just want to
make a proof of concept.
Yeah, exactly, proof of concept. So we want to really document what it's like to surprise a really interesting and worthy recipient with a personalized song in a really special moment, which is going to be his graduation party.
That's cool.
And he's a rocket scientist.
Oh, all right.
And he's a character.
Yeah, no, I again, if you any of the stories that you've heard today, if you want to see that as a TV show, which I'm just all about.
Yeah, if you're interested in keeping up with what we're doing, sign up for the mailing list. There's an easy pop-up on the website that prompts you to sign up for the mailing list.
Give them the website again.
orangepeelmoses.com. And yeah, subscribe to the mailing list.
I am excited to be part of this project. And again, just the little that you've done so much, and I've just been there for a fraction of it. And again, this is like, I'm trying to think. It's like the feel goods of what do we describe it as? Like the feel goods of Queer Eye with the It's like Punk'd meets Queer Eye. And I'm such a fan, and I think it really has legs, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to add to it and where you're going with it, and I think it's a brilliant idea. And let George Orange Peel know if you are in agreement, and get on that mailing list.
Yeah, and if you got someone you need to make feel special, hit us up. We'll help you out.
They're there. He's there. I see lots more gorilla in tutus in your future. Well, buddy, thank you so much for doing this, and it was great to catch up, deep dive, because I know when we see each other, it's always like, I got like 10 minutes to talk and then I gotta go.
Oh no.
But yeah, we go way back, and this has been an absolute blast and a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. All right, I will see everybody next time. I'm going to end it right here. I'll talk to you later, buddy, and thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!